The Discovery. Captain Sarah Chen peered through the view screen of her salvage ship, the Stardust Wanderer. The derelict vessel hung motionless against the backdrop of stars, its hull scarred and pitted from years adrift in the cosmic void. Sarah's pulse quickened. After months of fruitless searching, this could be the big score she needed to keep her fledgling salvage operation afloat. "All systems check out, Captain," her AI co-pilot AIA chirped. "No signs of life detected. Shall I begin docking procedures?" Sarah nodded, her eyes never leaving the ghost ship before them. "Proceed, AIA, but stay alert. I've got a feeling about this one." As the Stardust Wanderer's docking clamps engaged with a resounding clank, Sarah donned her spacesuit and ran through final safety checks. The airlock hissed open, and she stepped into the derelict's darkened corridor, helmet lights illuminating years of accumulated space dust. Sarah moved cautiously through the ship, scanning for any salvageable tech or precious materials. But as she neared the bridge, an unexpected sound stopped her in her tracks, a soft whimper, barely audible through her helmet's audio sensors. "Oh, I thought you said there were no life signs," Sarah whispered. "Correct, Captain. My scans detect no." The A's voice cut off abruptly. "Apologies. I am now registering 2 faint biosignatures. Origin unknown." Sarah's heart raced as she approached the bridge. The doors were jammed, but she managed to pry them open with her plasma torch. As the acrid smoke cleared, she gasped at the sight before her. Huddled in a makeshift nest of wires and insulation were 2 small figures. Their skin was a pale lavender hue, with delicate swirling patterns that seemed to glow faintly in the darkness. Large, opalescent eyes blinked up at Sarah in a mixture of fear and curiosity. "My God," Sarah breathed. "They're children, alien children." As she knelt down, one of the infants reached out a tiny 6-fingered hand and touched her helmet. In that moment, a flood of images and emotions washed over Sarah: fear, confusion, a desperate plea for help. Somehow, these alien babies were projecting their thoughts directly into her mind. With trembling hands, Sarah scooped up the twins and cradled them against her chest. "It's okay, little ones," she whispered. "I've got you now. You're safe." Back aboard the Stardust Wanderer, Sarah ran every scan and test she could think of on the alien infants. They appeared to be in good health, despite their ordeal, but she was at a loss for what to do next. Protocol dictated that she should turn them over to the authorities for study. The scientific knowledge to be gained from the first confirmed alien contact would be immeasurable. But as she gazed down at the twins, now sleeping peacefully in a makeshift crib, Sarah knew she could never hand them over to be poked and prodded in some sterile lab. Somehow, in the span of a few short hours, she had become fiercely protective of these strange, beautiful creatures. "Oh, set a course for Earth," Sarah said firmly, "and delete all logs of this encounter from the ship's database." "Captain, I must advise against this course of action," the AI responded. "It violates multiple regulations and could result in severe penalties." Sarah smiled ruefully. "Sometimes you have to follow your heart instead of the rules, AIA. These children need a home, and I intend to give them one." The journey back to Earth was fraught with challenges. Sarah had to use every trick she knew to avoid customs inspections and bypass security protocols. But finally, after several harrowing weeks, she touched down at her small apartment on the outskirts of New Seattle. As she carried the twins inside, Sarah's mind raced with all the obstacles that lay ahead. How would she explain their sudden appearance? How could she possibly raise 2 alien children on her own? But looking down at their peaceful, trusting faces, she knew she would find a way. "Welcome home, little ones," Sarah whispered, placing a gentle kiss on each of their foreheads. "I don't know much about where you came from or why you're here, but I promise I'll do everything in my power to keep you safe and help you grow. We're in this together now." In that moment, as if in response to her words, both infants opened their eyes and smiled up at her. A warm, comforting sensation flooded Sarah's mind: gratitude, contentment, and something that felt remarkably like love. Sarah Chen had no way of knowing the incredible journey that lay ahead. She couldn't foresee the challenges they would face, the wonders they would discover, or the fate of two worlds that would one day rest in these children's hands. But as she gazed down at her new family, Sarah knew that her life would never be the same. The twins, whom she would come to name Zara and Sen, had only just begun to change everything. Their arrival heralded the dawn of a new era, one that would bridge the gap between Earth and the stars and show humanity that family knows no boundaries, even across the vastness of space. As the first rays of sunrise peeked through the windows, Sarah settled into a chair, cradling the sleeping infants. Whatever the future held, they would face it together. And that, she realized, was the greatest adventure of all: cosmic awakening. 10 years had passed since Sarah Chen's fateful discovery of the alien twins. Now a bustling teenager, Zara stood before the bathroom mirror, frowning at her reflection. Her lavender skin shimmered with iridescent patterns that pulsed in sync with her emotions, a dead giveaway of her otherworldly origins, despite the holographic disguise she wore in public. "Sen, hurry up or we'll be late for school," she called out, adjusting her appearance one last time. Her brother's voice echoed back, tinged with frustration. "I'm trying. My quantum shift isn't working again." Sarah appeared in the doorway, a fun smile on her face. "Having trouble with your cloaking, sweetie?" Sen emerged from his room, his natural form flickering in and out of the holographic human disguise. "I don't get it, Mom. It was fine yesterday." "Remember what we practiced," Sarah said gently. "Focus on your core. Let the energy flow naturally." Sen closed his opalescent eyes, took a deep breath, and suddenly his alien features seamlessly transformed into those of a normal human teenager. He grinned triumphantly. "Got it." As they headed out, Sarah couldn't help but marvel at how far they'd come. Raising alien children on Earth had been a constant challenge, full of close calls and near discoveries. But somehow, they'd managed to keep the twins' true nature a secret, until now. The day started like any other at Cascade High School. Zara excelled in her advanced physics class, while Sen charmed his way through social studies with his quick wit. But everything changed during fifth period. Zara sat in biology lab, half listening to her teacher drone on about cellular structure. Suddenly, a searing pain lanced through her head. The world around her blurred and shifted, replaced by a vivid vision. A vast starship, sleek and impossibly advanced, descending through Earth's atmosphere. Crowds of humans gazing up in awe and fear. And at the center of it all, two figures that looked remarkably like herself and Sen, but older, adorned in regal attire. The vision vanished as quickly as it had appeared, leaving Zara gasping for breath. She looked down in horror to see her hands flickering, the holographic disguise faltering as her innate powers surged beyond her control. Across the school, Sen was experiencing a similar episode. In the middle of gym class, he suddenly found himself hovering several feet off the ground, his classmates staring in shock and disbelief. "Freak," someone shouted, and chaos erupted. Sarah's phone buzzed with an urgent message from the school. Her heart raced as she sped towards Cascade High, praying she wasn't too late. By the time she arrived, a crowd had gathered outside. Police cars and news vans clogged the parking lot. Fighting her way through the throng, Sarah finally spotted Zara and Sen huddled together, their alien features fully exposed. A ring of armed officers surrounded them, weapons drawn. "Mom," Sen cried out, his voice carrying a telepathic undercurrent of fear and confusion. Sarah pushed past the police line, ignoring their shouts. She placed herself between the twins and the guns aimed at them. "Don't hurt them. They're just children." "Step aside, ma'am," a gruff voice ordered. Sarah turned to see a stern-faced woman in a dark suit flashing a government ID. "I'm Agent Reyes with the Department of Extraterrestrial Affairs. These beings are now under our jurisdiction." Sarah's mind raced. She'd always feared this day might come, but she wasn't about to let her children be taken without a fight. They're not beings, they're my kids, and you have no right to. Her words were cut off by a deafening roar from above. The crowd looked up in awe as an enormous spacecraft appeared, hovering over the school. It was exactly as Zara had seen in her vision. A beam of shimmering light engulfed the twins, and Sarah felt herself being pulled along with them. The last thing she heard before the world faded away was Agent Ray's barking orders and the panicked screams of the crowd below. When Sarah's vision cleared, she found herself in a vast, gleaming chamber unlike anything she'd ever seen. Zara and Sen stood beside her, their eyes wide with wonder and confusion. Before them, seated on ornate thrones, were two regal figures that looked like adult versions of the twins. The male spoke, his voice resonating with power and warmth. "Welcome home, Zara and Sen, heirs to the galactic throne of Andromeda. And welcome, Sarah Chen of Earth, savior of our children. We have much to discuss." Sarah's head spun as the weight of the situation crashed down upon her. Her adopted alien children weren't just refugees, they were royalty. And now, it seemed, the fate of two worlds rested in their hands. As Zara and Sen tentatively approached their birth parents, Sarah realized their greatest adventure was only just beginning. The bridge between Earth and the stars had been opened, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Andromedan king rose, his eyes filled with gratitude as he addressed Sarah. "You have cared for our children as your own, shielding them from those who would harm or exploit them. For this, our entire civilization owes you a debt that can never be repaid." Sarah swallowed hard, her voice barely above a whisper. I loved them. From the moment I found them, I knew they were meant to be mine." The Queen smiled warmly. "And that love has shaped them in ways we could never have imagined. They carry within them not just the legacy of Andromeda, but the spirit of humanity as well. This unique perspective may be the key to saving both our worlds." Zara and Sen exchanged a bewildered glance. Sen spoke up, his voice shaky. "Saving? What do you mean? What's happening?" The king's expression grew grave. "A great darkness threatens not just our galaxy, but yours as well. An ancient enemy we fought long defeated has returned, consuming entire star systems in its wake. We had hoped to keep you hidden on Earth until you came of age, but circumstances have forced our hand. We need you," the Queen added softly. "Both of you. Your unique abilities, born of two worlds, may be our only hope." Sarah felt a surge of protective instinct. They're just kids. You can't expect them to fight some intergalactic war. Zara placed a hand on her adoptive mother's arm. "Mom, it's okay. I think this is why we've always felt different. Why our powers have been growing stronger. We're meant for something bigger." Sen nodded in agreement. "We can't just ignore this. If we can help, we have to try." Pride swelled in Sarah's chest, mingling with fear for her children's safety. The twins she'd raised from infancy were showing a maturity beyond their years. The king descended from his throne, placing a hand on each twin's shoulder. "The road ahead will not be easy. You must learn to harness your full potential, to wield powers beyond imagination. But you will not face this alone." He turned to Sarah, his expression solemn. "Sarah Chen of Earth, we extend to you an invitation. Stay with us, continue to guide and nurture our children as you have these past 10 years. Your human perspective and unwavering love may prove just as vital as any cosmic ability." Sarah looked at Zara and Sen, seeing in their eyes a mixture of excitement, fear, and pleading. She thought of the life they'd left behind on Earth, of the challenges and dangers that lay ahead. But in her heart, she knew there was only one choice. "Where they go, I go," Sarah said firmly. "We're a family, no matter what galaxy we're in." The twins rushed to embrace her, their joy palpable. As the royal family looked on, a sense of hope filled the chamber. The path forward would be fraught with peril, but together, they just might stand a chance. Unbeknownst to them, back on Earth, The revelation of alien life had thrown the planet into chaos. Governments scrambled to respond, conspiracy theories ran wild, and the very foundations of human society began to shift. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, an ancient evil stirred, sensing the awakening of powers that could challenge its dominion. The fate of two worlds now rested in the hands of two teenagers from Earth and the family that transcended the stars. The true test of their bond, and the future of all civilization, was about to begin. Celestial Crucible. The hyperdrive engines of the Andromedan royal flagship, Stellaris, hummed with otherworldly energy as it glided through the quantum slipstream. Inside the vessel's holographic training chamber, Zora and Sen faced off against a barrage of simulated threats, their movements a blur of otherworldly grace and power. Zora's hands crackled with prismatic energy as she deflected incoming plasma bolts, her lavender skin shimmering with bioluminescent patterns. Sen phased in and out of reality, his quantum-shifting ability allowing him to outmaneuver swarms of attack drones. From an observation deck above, Sarah Chen watched with a mixture of awe and trepidation. In the 6 months since leaving Earth, she had seen her adopted children transform from awkward teenagers into something more, something both wondrous and terrifying. Impressive, aren't they? A silky voice purred. Sarah turned to see Lyra, the twins' birth mother and Queen Vandromeda, gliding towards her. Even after all this time, the alien monarch's ethereal beauty took Sarah's breath away. "They're incredible," Sarah admitted, "but I worry. All this power, all this responsibility, they're still so young." Lyra's opalescent eyes shimmered with empathy. "Your love for them does you credit, Sarah of Earth. Rest assured, their human upbringing, the compassion and resilience you've instilled in them, is as vital to their development as any cosmic ability." Below, the simulation reached a crescendo. Zara and Sen moved in perfect unison, combining their powers to create a swirling vortex of energy that consumed the last of their holographic foes. As the program faded, the twins shared a triumphant high five. "Mom, did you see that?" Sen called out excitedly, his voice carrying a telepathic undercurrent of pride and affection. Sarah smiled warmly. "I saw. You were both amazing." The moment of celebration was cut short by a blaring alarm. The ship's AI, NOVA, spoke with urgent clarity. "Your Majesties, we're receiving a priority distress signal from the Pleiades Coalition outpost. They're under attack by Void Harbinger forces." The atmosphere in the room shifted instantly. The Void Harbingers, a mysterious and terrifying enemy that consumed entire star systems, had been pushing deeper into Allied space for months. This attack represented a major escalation. King Zoran's voice boomed through the ship's communications system. "All hands to battle stations. Zara Sen, this is not a drill. You will accompany the first response team." Sarah's heart raced. But they're not ready. They've never faced real combat. Lyra placed a comforting hand on Sarah's shoulder. They must be. The prophecy foretold that only those of two worlds could stem the tide of darkness. We have to trust in their abilities and in the strength you've given them. As the twins rushed to prepare for their first real mission, Sarah felt a surge of determination. "I'm going with them," she declared. Lyra arched an elegant eyebrow. "It will be exceedingly dangerous." "They're my kids," Sarah said firmly. "Danger comes with the territory." Minutes later, Sarah found herself aboard a sleek Andromedan assault shuttle, clad in advanced battle armor that made her feel like a character from one of Sen's video games. Zara and Sen sat across from her, their faces a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "Remember your training," Sarah said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Watch each other's backs, and if things get too intense, there's no shame in retreating." Zara nodded, her eyes gleaming with determination. "We've got this, Mom. We won't let you down." The shuttle burst from the Stellaris' hangar bay, joined by a squadron of Andromedan fighters. As they approached the Pleiades outpost, the scale of the battle became clear. Void Harbinger ships, biomechanical monstrosities that seemed to devour light itself swarmed around the station. By the cosmic core, Sen breathed, his eyes wide. Their pilot, a grizzled Androndan veteran named Cora, barked out orders. "Royal heirs, you're up. Clear path to the station. We'll handle evacuation." The shuttle's hatch opened, and Zara and Sen launched themselves into the fray. Sarah watched in awe as her children became streaks of light, weaving between enemy ships and bursts of weapons fire. Zara's cosmic bolts tore through void harbinger hulls like tissue paper. Sen blinked in and out of phase, appearing inside enemy vessels to sabotage them from within. Together, they carved a path through the chaos. But the tide of battle shifted quickly. A massive void harbinger dreadnought decloaked, its hull writhing with tentacle-like appendages. It fired a beam of pure darkness that engulfed several Androndan ships, erasing them from existence. "Fall back," Cora shouted. "We can't handle that thing." Sarah saw Zara and Sen hesitate, clearly torn between retreat and pressing the attack. In that moment of indecision, the dreadnought lashed out. A tendril of void energy wrapped around Sen, pulling him towards the monstrous ship. "No," Sarah screamed. Without thinking, she grabbed a jetpack from the shuttle's weapons rack and launched herself into space. Zara's voice crackled through the comm. "Mom, what are you doing? Get back to the ship." But Sarah was beyond hearing. Maternal instinct overrode all sense of self-preservation as she rocketed towards her son. Void energy crackled around her, eating away at her armor's shielding. Just as the dreadnought was about to swallow Zen, Sarah reached him. She grabbed his hand, their eyes meeting in a moment of perfect understanding. Then, with all her strength, she swung him around and flung him clear of the energy tendril. "Mom," Sam cried out as he tumbled away. Sarah smiled, a sense of peace washing over her as the void energy engulfed her. What happened next would be debated by scholars and bards across 1,000 worlds for centuries to come. Zara and Sen, witness to their adoptive mother's sacrifice, unleashed power beyond anything they had ever manifested before. Zara became a being of pure starlight, her cosmic energy burning away void ships by the dozens. Sen's quantum state expanded, creating a bubble of altered reality that trapped the dreadnought between dimensions. Together, fueled by love and righteous fury, the twins torn the void harbinger fleet asunder. In the space of heartbeats, the tide of battle had turned. As the last enemy ship flickered out of existence, Zara and Sen rushed to where they had last seen Sarah. But instead of finding empty space, they were greeted by a sight that defied explanation. Sarah Chen floated before them, her body radiating with the same otherworldly energy that powered their own abilities. Somehow, in that moment of supreme sacrifice, she had awakened something within herself, a spark of the cosmic power that flowed through her adopted children. As the family reunited in the void of space, tears of joy streaming down their faces in defiance of zero gravity, a new legend was born. Word spread quickly across the galaxy. The twin heirs of Andromeda had unlocked their true potential, and with them fought a human woman who had transcended the limitations of her species through the sheer power of love. The Void Harbingers had been dealt a crushing defeat, but the war was far from over. As the Stellaris retrieved the heroes of the battle, King Zorin and Queen Lyra exchanged a meaningful look. The prophecy had spoken of two who would bridge worlds, but perhaps it had been incomplete. The true power to save the cosmos lay not just in Zara and Zen's mixed heritage, but in the unbreakable bonds of a family that defied the very boundaries of space and time. As the Androndan fleet regrouped, news of the battle's outcome spread like wildfire across subspace channels. On Earth, humans who had been grappling with the reality of alien life now found themselves facing an even more astonishing truth. One of their own had ascended to stand alongside cosmic royalty. The lines between Earth and the stars, between the ordinary and the extraordinary, had been irrevocably blurred, and in the crucible of that celestial battle, a new hope for the universe had been forged. Quantum Nexus. The Great Hall of the Galactic Concordat hummed with nervous energy as representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered. Holographic displays flickered with real-time updates from the front lines of the war against the Void Harbingers. At the center of it all stood Zara, Sen, and Sarah Chen, the unlikely family that had become a beacon of hope for the cosmos. Zara, her lavender skin shimmering with newfound power, addressed the assembly. Fellow sentients, the time for half measures has passed. The Void Harbingers grow stronger with each world they consume. We must unite as never before. Sen nodded, his quantum-shifted form rippling like a mirage. Our victory at the Pleiades outpost proved that they can be defeated, but we need more than just military might. We need innovation, cooperation across species barriers. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, but Sarah could sense an undercurrent of fear. She stepped forward, her newly awakened cosmic energy casting a soft glow around her. "I stand before you as living proof that the impossible is possible," Sarah declared, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. "I was born human, with no special abilities. But through love, sacrifice, and an unbreakable bond with my children, I have transcended the limits of my species. Imagine what we could achieve if we all pushed beyond our perceived boundaries." A reptilian delegate from the Draconis cluster raised a scaled hand. "Pretty words, Earthling. But how do you propose we fight an enemy that devours reality itself?" Sarah smiled, a plan forming in her mind. "By changing the nature of reality first." Over the next several hours, Sarah, Zara, and Sen outlined a daring strategy. They proposed the creation of a quantum nexus, a massive network of interconnected reality engines that would allow instantaneous travel and communication across the galaxy. More importantly, it would create a unified field of altered spacetime that the Void Harbingers couldn't easily corrupt. "The key," Sen explained, his eyes gleaming with excitement, "is to harmonize the quantum frequencies of every participating world. It's like tuning the entire galaxy to the same cosmic radio station." "But that's impossible," shouted a silicon-based life form from the Silica Nebula. "The energy requirements alone would be..." "Immense," Zara finished. "But not insurmountable. If we pool our resources, if every world contributes." The debate raged for days. Some feared the quantum nexus would be too powerful, too easy to abuse. Others argued they had no choice. It was evolve or perish. In the end, the vote was narrow, but the motion passed. Operation Quantum Nexus would proceed. The next few months were a whirlwind of activity. Sarah found herself traveling to the farthest reaches of known space, negotiating with species so alien she could barely comprehend their mode of existence. Her unique perspective as a human who had ascended to cosmic awareness proved invaluable in bridging cultural divides. Zara oversaw the monumental engineering challenges, coordinating teams of the galaxy's brightest minds to solve problems that had stumped civilizations for eons. Her ability to manipulate energy on a fundamental level led to breakthroughs that would reshape the understanding of physics across 1,000 worlds. Sen, with his gift for quantum manipulation, worked tirelessly to stabilize the network as it grew. He became a living conduit, his consciousness stretched across vast distances as he harmonized the quantum frequencies of entire star systems. But the Void Harbingers did not sit idle. As news of the project spread, their attacks grew more frequent, more desperate. It became a race against time. Could the Allies complete the quantum nexus before the enemy overwhelmed them? The final battle came just as the network was on the verge of activation. A Void Harbinger armada, unlike anything seen before, materialized in the heart of Allied space. At its center loomed a construct of impossible geometry, a ship that seemed to bend and twist reality around it. "It's a null engine," Sen gasped as the Stellaris rocked from a near miss. "If that thing reaches the Nexus control hub, it could unravel everything we've built." Sarah's eyes narrowed with determination. "Then we stop it here. Zara, Sen, it's time to show the galaxy what Earth's children can really do." What followed was a battle that would be remembered for millennia to come. Zara became a living storm of cosmic energy, her attacks cracking Void Harbinger ships like eggshells. Sen phased entire enemy squadrons out of existence, his mastery over quantum reality reaching new heights. And at the center of it all was Sarah. Her maternal instinct to protect transcended to a cosmic scale. She wove a tapestry of altered spacetime around the Allied fleet, deflecting attacks that by all rights should have annihilated them. But the null engine pressed on, its otherworldly weapons tearing holes in the fabric of reality itself. Just when all seemed lost, Sarah had an epiphany. "Kids," she shouted over the din of battle. "The Nexus. We need to activate it now." "But it's not ready," Zara protested. "Half the galaxy isn't connected yet." "Doesn't matter," Sarah insisted. "Trust me." With a shared look of understanding, the family joined hands. Sarah reached out with her mind, connecting to the vast network they had created. She felt Zara's cosmic energy surge through her, amplified 1,000-fold. Sen's quantum mastery expanded her consciousness across light years. And then, with a thought that resonated across the stars, Sarah Chen activated the quantum nexus. Reality rippled. Spacetime folded in on itself and blossomed outward simultaneously. For a moment that stretched into eternity, every sentient being in the galaxy was connected, their minds and souls intertwined in a cosmic web of unity. The Void Harbingers, creatures of entropy and dissolution, found themselves engulfed by an ocean of unified consciousness. Their ships began to disintegrate, unable to maintain cohesion in this new, harmonized reality. The null engine imploded, collapsing in on itself like a dying star. In its place blossomed a newborn galaxy, teeming with possibility. As the light of their victory faded, Zara and Sen found themselves floating in the void, surrounded by the cheering ships of 1,000 worlds. "Mom," Sen said softly, his voice filled with awe, "what did you do?" Sarah smiled, tears of joy streaming down her face in defiance of zero gravity. "I showed them the power of family. Not just ours, but the family of all sentient life. In that moment of perfect unity, we all evolved together." As news of their victory spread, celebrations erupted across the galaxy. The quantum nexus, now a permanent fixture of this new reality, promised an era of unprecedented peace and cooperation. But for Sarah, Zara, and Sen, the greatest triumph was much simpler. As they embraced, their bodies glowing with cosmic power, they knew that they had not just saved the galaxy. They had proven that love, in all its forms, was the most powerful force in the universe. The family that had started on Earth, bridged the stars, and reshaped reality itself, smiled as they looked out at the glittering expanse of their new home. The next great adventure was just beginning. Cosmic Renaissance. The activation of the quantum nexus marked the dawn of a new era for the galaxy. With instantaneous travel and communication across vast distances now possible, an explosion of cultural exchange and scientific advancement swept through civilized space. At the heart of this cosmic renaissance was Sarah, Zara, and Sen, the family that had reshaped reality itself. On the newly christened planet Harmony, a world purpose-built to serve as a neutral meeting ground for all species, the unlikely heroes found themselves at the center of a maelstrom of activity. The crystalline spires of the capital city, New Dawn, pulsed with energy as representatives from countless worlds converged to shape the future of their new, interconnected reality. Sarah stood on a balcony overlooking the Grand Plaza, marveling at the diversity of life below. Beings of pure energy mingled with silicon-based life forms, while creatures of living gas floated serenely past humanoids of every description. It was a far cry from the small apartment in Seattle where she had once hidden 2 alien infants from the world. "Mom, check this out." Sen's excited voice pulled Sarah from her reverie. She turned to see her son literally walking on air, each step leaving a shimmering ripple in the fabric of spacetime. "Sen, what did we say about experimenting with quantum manipulation in public spaces?" Sarah chided, though she couldn't help but smile at his enthusiasm. Zara phased through the wall, her lavender skin glowing with barely contained cosmic energy. "Oh, let him have his fun, Mom. Besides, I think I've made a breakthrough in my research on interdimensional harmonics." As her children launched into an animated discussion about the finer points of reality manipulation, Sarah felt a familiar mix of pride and trepidation. Their powers had grown exponentially since the battle against the Void Harbingers, and sometimes she wondered if they were losing touch with their human roots. A soft chime interrupted their conversation. Nova, the AI that had once served aboard the Andromedan flagship Stellaris and now helped coordinate the quantum nexus, materialized as a holographic projection. "Pardon the interruption," Nova said, its voice a soothing blend of tones, "but your presence is requested in the Concordat chamber. It appears we have unexpected visitors." The family exchanged curious glances before making their way to the heart of New Dawn's governmental complex. As they entered the vast, dome-shaped Concordat chamber, a hush fell over the assembled delegates. At the center of the room, shimmering with an otherworldly light, stood three beings unlike anything Sarah had ever seen. Their forms seemed to shift and change, as if they were only partially anchored in this reality. King Zoran, his regal bearing somewhat diminished by the awe in his eyes, made the introductions. "Sarah Zara Sen, may I present the architects? They claim to be the creators of our universe." A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. Sarah felt a moment of vertigo as she tried to process this revelation. The architects, if that's truly what they were, radiated an aura of ancient, unfathomable power. The central figure, its form reminiscent of a nebula given sentience, spoke in a voice that seemed to bypass the ears and resonate directly in the mind. "We have watched your ascension with great interest, children of two worlds. You have surpassed our wildest expectations." Zara, ever the scientist, couldn't contain her curiosity. "You've been watching us? For how long? And why reveal yourselves now?" The architect's form rippled with what might have been amusement, since the first spark of consciousness flickered in the primordial soup of your worlds. "As for why now, the activation of your quantum nexus has opened doorways we thought long closed. You stand on the threshold of a greater universe than you can imagine." Sen's eyes widened with excitement. "Are you saying there are other universes out there? Other realities?" "Indeed," another architect chimed in, its voice like the harmonics of crystal spheres. "What you call the multiverse is vast beyond comprehension. And now, thanks to your innovation, the barriers between realities have become permeable." The implications hit Sarah like a thunderbolt. "The Void Harbingers," she breathed. "They weren't just consuming our reality, were they? They were invaders from another universe entirely." The third architect, a being of pure geometric perfection, nodded. "Correct, and they were merely the first wave. Your victory has bought precious time, but greater challenges lie ahead." A murmur of fear and excitement rippled through the assembled delegates. Sarah felt her children move closer, instinctively seeking the comfort of family in the face of this cosmic revelation. "Why tell us this?" Sarah asked, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "Why not simply solve the problem yourselves, if you're truly the creators of everything?" The first architect's form shimmered with what might have been pride. "Because, Sarah Chen of Earth, you and your children represent something new, a bridge between the ordinary and the cosmic. Your unique perspective, your ability to evolve and adapt, may be the key to saving not just this universe, but all of creation." King Zoran stepped forward, his voice filled with a mix of hope and trepidation. "What would you have us do?" The architects spoke in unison, their voices blending into a cosmic symphony. "Learn. Grow. Push the boundaries of what you believe possible, for the trials that lie ahead will test you in ways you cannot yet fathom." With those ominous words, the architects began to fade from view. But before they vanished entirely, the nebula-like being turned its attention directly to Sarah, Zara, and Sen. "The power of your bond, the love that transcends species and realities, is a force unlike any we have encountered in eons of existence. Nurture it, For in the darkest hours to come, it may be the light that guides all of creation home. As the architects disappeared, leaving behind a chamber full of stunned silence, Sarah pulled her children close. Whatever cosmic destiny awaited them, whatever mind-bending challenges lay on the horizon, they would face it as they always had, together. The family that had started with a chance encounter on a derelict spaceship now stood at the center of a cosmic drama beyond imagination. As delegates erupted into frenzied discussion around them, Zara and Sen shared a quiet moment of understanding. Their greatest adventure was just beginning, and the fate of not just one universe, but all of reality rested in their hands. With love as their guide and the bonds of family as their strength, they were ready to take the next leap into the unknown. As they gazed out at the shimmering skyline of New Dawn, the first seeds of a plan to explore the multiverse already forming in their minds, Sarah couldn't help but smile. From Earth to the stars, and now beyond, their journey was far from over. The cosmic renaissance had only just begun.